All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the How I Met Your Mortgage podcast, the sweetest smelling podcast in the world. Uh, Jen won't get that joke. Andrew
No.
might. All right. So I'm Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching. I'm your host, and with me, pretty much as always, is one of our other coaches and our marketing director, Jen Waybor. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Adam.
It is morning here. We're both in Colorado. I don't know if you saw that next week I'm going to do this from South Carolina again.
I did see
All right,
that.
so I won't say good morning to everybody then. And we've got a really cool guest for you guys today who's got all kinds of cool ideas to share with us about our lead gen and business practices and maybe some other crazy stories from behind the curtain. A repeat guest, Andrew Goldberg. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Adam and Jen, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here today.
Oh, no, we are glad to have you. And I've got to be honest, there aren't a whole lot of our guests that do some planning, some research into what we could possibly talk about today. We usually just kind of start talking, and whatever shit free flows from there is what we talk about. But, Andrew, you've done some research, and since you're a repeat guest on the show, we won't go through the normal rigmarole of where you came from and your background and how you ended up in this crazy game called real estate. But all of those are true. You do have the background and did end up in this crazy game called real estate. And if those of you watching or listening want to go back and check out our previous episode with Andrew, you can certainly do that. But Andrew, one of the things that you had really brought to our attention certainly before we went live and certainly before we started recording, but even earlier than that, was some ideas behind some email marketing.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, well, don't get me wrong, but on top of that, you said you're having some really good success with it. And I think a lot of people have kind of poo-pooed email in recent months, years, decades. I don't think there's any secret to the fact that email is a dying technology. Now, don't get me wrong, it'll be decades before it's dead, but that we've certainly seen the peak of email as a marketing tool, right? So yeah, you've got some killer ideas and some great success from what you're putting out there. So why don't you give us a little sneak peek? What are we working on?
More than happy to. So yeah, I took some coaching classes and learned from Ricky Carruth the powerfulness of doing a weekly email. And I realized that there's not really many agents in our market doing weekly email. And after seeing his weekly email and how just like basic and brass tacks it was, I was like, I could do this a lot better. And hearing his success from it. And I have an assistant who's a background in graphic design, marketing, and he's a really good writer. So me and him started collaborating on this weekly email, and I needed something to structure my week. A lot of agents just don't have structure, and I was lacking it too from a marketing standpoint. So I was like, this is something I have to do every week. And it was something that I wanted to bring consistency to my business and show people I'm consistent. So this email goes out every Thursday at 7 a.m., no matter what.
Why did we decide on Thursday at 7 a.m.?
I felt like Ricky does his on Wednesdays, and it just, for me in our market, since I feature a lot of properties, it's really hard to get listings on Wednesday, especially in our low inventory environment, as well as I wanted to make my newsletter very lifestyle based, not just boring real estate stuff like, hey, this property sold, check me out, I'm a good agent, whatever, over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think we've seen plenty of that shit.
Yeah,
like my entire Facebook feed. I sold a house. Yeah, great. Every single house that's for sale sells. So
I know. I'm pretty much on the point now where like I used to post every house I sell, and then like these last few weeks I'm just like, man, I don't want to like post every house I sell. I get it. You guys know I'm an agent, and I wanted to bring more value to my clients because I feel like a home is a basis of your lifestyle. So it all starts there. So I don't want people to enjoy the city as much as I do.
Well, and people want to know more about you than what you do anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And, it all started too because a lot of people were calling me for restaurant recommendations. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. I was kind of like this go-to guy for what's happening in town anyway. So I figured I might as well start writing about it every week. So, every week I include like concerts, a local business I like. I do like a Discover Mile High section as well as music I'm listening to, as well as 2 properties I like every week that not even my listings, just properties I like. I try to lean into Compass's listings first, just because I want to power the brokerage and I like being here. And we also just have really cool listings, and it's also a lot easier to get permission from people that work at my brokerage than some other agents are very egotistical with their listings. Like, no, I'm not going to have you leverage my listing right now. You'd be surprised at how many people don't want their listing marketed extra for free.
That's crazy.
That's so bizarre.
So that's just and I also do a market perspective every week where I update what I see in the market, and I'll even use stories. And I also do client successes of like houses I did sell. Sometimes I'll go into a little bit of story about it, or just ways to give people a behind the scene look of what I'm doing, and not just sold this house for over asking price like every other house in the market. So,
right.
So I think it's been very powerful in that way, and we're also repurposing the content too a little bit, using some of it in stories, using some of it on social. It posts to my website as a blog. So it's helping with SEO, stuff like that too. And it's just been this awesome thing where, agents in other markets I sent it to, that I'm friends with, and, they've been starting to send me referrals. And it's just this one thing every week that everyone sees my name, everyone sees my face, and they can read what I'm up to. And the referrals that have been coming from it have been phenomenal. I started it, I think this is about to be week 19 that goes out this Thursday. So not that long. I started around like the middle of August, and I've gotten 4 deals I could count on from that. In the last.
That's fantastic. Are you writing the copy yourself?
Most of it. It's a collaborative effort between me and my assistant. I'll usually give him the ideas. I'll usually write the rough draft. He'll edit it. And then sometimes if there's something that he knows about, he'll kind of write the copy on it. So it's a collaborative effort.
Wow. You weren't kidding about it being a labor of love.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You're investing a lot of time in it. But here's what I'm gathering from this is that certainly one, here's an ability to exhibit constancy and consistency every week, week in, week out, that the content is actually interesting. It's not about real estate stats or, here are the houses that sold in your neighborhood recently, blah, 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 because obviously that's nowhere near as entertaining. We're not going to capture our audience in the same way. But this is clearly content that's good for your clients, your leads, and your advocates, the 3 categories we emphasize of, people who have done business with you, or getting ready to do business with you, or could refer business to you. And that's pretty much everybody, right? For those of you that are listening or watching live or in syndication, we talk about the fact that pretty much everybody either owns real estate, wants to, or knows somebody who does. And a big piece of that knows somebody who does, that advocate piece, people who are in a position to refer business to you, is other realtors in other locations that could be referring people moving to Denver to you. And it seems to me, Andrew, that your content fits the bill for everybody.
Yeah.
There isn't a human in the country, a human in your database that wouldn't get something out of this email content.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of starting to evolve, after doing this like 15, 20 weeks, and you start like, all right, we need to change it up a little bit. Even last week, I brought in one of my friends who owns a painting company and featured his painting company and colors that they recommend for next year. So we're even bringing into like a design front of stuff that's going on with their home, and, just useful tips. Like, we might even start featuring just like seasonal tips on what to do in your house, design trends, even starting to feature like, unique loan products and just stuff like that to help, answer those questions of how someone's going to move in this market with no inventory. They need a place to go, and what resources I have for that, and what are resources I'm using to get people under contract in this market, and just be able to, give people tips and advice and the information they need to make the most out of their home and also make most of them living in the city.
This email blog is actually available online.
No. Yeah. So it's actually posting to my blog at agcolorado.com every week.
All right. Let's get that link for people to check out. And let's talk a little bit about distribution. Because I'm not getting these emails. I'd love to. I mean, I saw the emails you sent where you had, combined a few so that we could kind of see what Andrew's up to. But let's talk about distribution. What are you using to get all these emails out, and how many emails are we talking about?
So right now we're approaching about 1,000 a week.
Okay.
So it's not like a huge database. It's more like I know people that are going to find it valuable. I'm trying to stay away from the spam folder. And it has a really high open rate of around 30 to 35% give in.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
That's really great.
So it's been one of those things where I'm trying to get it of more of a, well-followed audience to where it's going to end up in the main inbox, not in promotions all the time, not in people's spam. So I'm trying to grow it more organically and not throw too many people on it at a time. We're probably adding 4 or 5 people a week right now. So not too many.
You're way down the list there, Wayboer. It's alphabetical.
Yeah, it'll take a while. Next year, maybe.
Maybe.
I'll get you on there.
I get to jump the line.
Yeah, it's not alphabetical. It's just a lot of times we're doing it with leads that come in, inquiries that come in, people I have conversations with go in, or the agents I'm featuring their listings. And a lot of times I'll target like Evergreen, Conifer, Boulder, Longmont, all these places where they might have a referral into Denver that they might not want to work it, but they're also interested in what's going on in Denver at the same time. So that's been a really big part of the audience is the listing agents who are featuring on their listings. And that's actually where I got one of the referrals from. Someone just said, hey man, I actually have somebody down here for you. So it's been great on that front point, but then also we're distributing it through Compass right now. And then if I were ever to, leave, I've been looking at MailChimp or Constant Contact. But Compass's platform is great. They usually give us the good template to lay it out, and then we customize it every week. And then now since it's been one of those things that we've done it like going on 20 times now, it's a lot quicker now. We kind of have a flow. Pretty much we have most of the content done by Monday, and then it goes out Thursday. So even this morning I came in, I was like, here's 2 properties to feature. Here's the business we're featuring. Here's this. This is what I want to highlight. And then we're pretty much off to the races. And then it just gets scheduled and goes out.
Okay. So it's fairly boilerplate once you've started doing it.
Yeah.
The workload really week to week now is just writing the copy, coming up with ideas. What kind of content would people want to see?
Yeah.
And the rest of it's kind of on autopilot. It's plug and play.
Yeah.
So it's not an enormous amount of brain damage. It's not an enormous time commitment. And it's generating real results.
Correct. Yeah, it's great.
In a format that a lot of people think is dead or dying.
Pretty much.
Right? This is really cool.
Yeah, and part of the inspiration too is at Compass we get a daily email from Leonard Steinberg, which is one of the basically our tech I forget how to pronounce it, just basically our tech, head of tech. He's basically the face of the company. He sends out an email every single morning. And I'm like, if this guy could do this every single day and provide great content, I could do it once every 7 days.
That sounds familiar. Yes.
Yeah. So he, I get his email every single morning, and his is usually a few sections of did you know this about the economy, this about the housing market. Then he goes into the Compass properties that are featured currently, and then he goes into some sort of blog about something going on and some lesson to learn in life. And that was also a big driving factor. It's this guy does this every day. This is the top agent in New York, pretty much one of the top agents, and sells hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate every year. And this, don't get me wrong, he's an older generation than me, but at the same point, I read it every morning.
Well, that's because you're a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, credit where credit's due. Our MO, we have a take on it with our video blog that is very, very similar. And again, credit where credit's due, mostly to Brian Stevens of the National Real Estate Post, who, probably spent 10 years pushing me to do video and better video and so on and so forth. And how he does 6-7 minutes of content today versus the 3 minutes of content that we do per week is mind-boggling to me. He's so good at it. In fact, we use a lot of his stuff in our coaching program to give people an idea of what to look for as somebody who's wanting to do video, not necessarily just as part of the audience, not just somebody who's watching to gain the content or listening to gain the content, but to watch it with a different set of eyes to figure out how to set it up, how to make it work for you, rather than just being part of an audience. which is what it sounds like you're doing with this content.
Yeah, no, and I've had agents reach out to me like, I don't know how you're doing this every week. What's going on? How do you keep up with it? And I just tell them that it's one of those things. Practice makes perfect. You just got to start doing it, and then it gets easier. And then once you get that locked in, you go and add another layer to your business and find out what's next and figure out how to keep growing.
Yeah, well, taking imperfect action, for those of you watching or listening, taking imperfect action on any of these kinds of things, you've got to do it. You just start. It's not going to be great. It'll get better over time. Don't have analysis paralysis. Don't overthink it, because then you're never going to fucking start it. Pardon my language. But yeah, that just drives me nuts, watching people that won't just take that first step and craft it as they go along, rather than analyze it to death and never actually start doing it. That's obviously a very big deal. The constancy and consistency is an enormous factor. I don't know that I could put enough weight on how important it is to do it at the same time, the same day, the same week, week after week, month after month, whatever the case may be, however you're going to regiment it, because that's the kind of thing that audience is eventually going to be looking for. If Andrew misses a week, people are going to get up Thursday morning and go, where the hell is my email from Andrew? It's going to happen. So you've got to build your audience. You've got to prove your constancy and consistency through that kind of activity. And Andrew, I'd be willing to bet that the time required to come up with the ideas, to build up the copy, you talked about you and your assistant doing this work every week. I'd be willing to bet that time is time blocked off so that you guys make sure it gets done.
I would say for the most part, at the beginning, it was not, to be honest. And it was pretty interesting. Even the first email, we were scrambling to get it out and then forgot to do through the right platform. We actually had everyone's emails CC'd on it. So we got all these emails back, dude, what's going on, man? You need to work on this.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like you said, imperfect, still do it, still have action, progress is better than perfection.
Well, and you did get interaction from that.
Yeah. And it is one of those things now, I have kind of a loyal following with it. And, I was talking about conforming loan limits 2 weeks ago and I had a typo and I got 10 responses dude, did you catch this typo? So it's one of those things where that created engagement though. I had 10 new conversations from a typo. And
that is certainly important. Jen, I've got to assume our mortgage company email blog has a similar path. Now we do it twice a month.
Yep, twice a month.
And the content is rarely ever mortgage or real estate related. 1 out of 10, maybe.
We've been doing a quarterly report on what the market's looking like nationwide. Which does make it more interesting because the numbers nationwide seem a lot more reasonable than the numbers in Colorado. I think the last one was the average time on market was 41 days nationally. And I was like,
oh, well,
41 days.
Here it's 41 minutes. So
right,
that's really
exactly.
Cool.
So those are getting really high engagement, but that's interesting mortgage related information and not what's the rate today and the loan limits are increasing. Every LO was posting on Facebook.
Oh man,
2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Yeah. So
Show
it's
me
very
you don't
rare.
understand social media without telling me you don't understand social media.
Yeah.
But this is true, and obviously it does kind of lend to an interesting topic that Denver's a little Looney Tunes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, give us a little insight, because we had talked a little bit off camera about, or before we went live anyway, about a particular buyer and property that you're working on. And don't get me wrong, I've heard all kinds of crazy things. We've got a close colleague. This is a great example. Clients found a house. I don't know, I want to say 630 or 670 was the purchase price. Not outrageous. And he knew the listing agent well and knew that she had a big mouth. And so they wrote up an offer with a $100,000 escalation clause that they would be willing to go up to $760. And of course, she told everybody else who was interested in making an offer that offer existed. So nobody did. So they got the house for asking price. Because nobody else would offer. Oh, I'm not paying $100,000 over. Forget it. But Andrew, you've got something even a little kookier than that going on. Hit us.
Yeah. So I met this guy. He called me on one of my listings, built rapport with him. right away. Was able to speak the language. He said he talked to 6 or 7 realtors who just didn't know anything about investing. And then me and him started talking. And before you know it, he called me and said, "Hey, I have this property. Let's go take a look." And he sends me the address. It's a, multifamily in Berkeley, really hot area, 2 blocks off Tennyson, pretty dilapidated, like 3-4 unit place. It's a 3 unit with a carriage house. And, I started talking to the listing agent and building rapport with him. And, we found out that there was offers 150K over asking already. And it's been on the market a day and a half.
Oh my God, 150 grand over asking on the market a day and a half, right? That's a flavor of what's going on here.
Yeah, there was not, and it was one of those things where one of the units was demoed. The carriage house was completely demoed, and going in there and having to look at comps, and comps for this property did not exist.
Sure.
Having to go into cap rates and go into all this stuff and be able to advise this guy, and we just submitted an offer 210K over asking. And we're told
210,000 over asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you're looking probably, I think it's about a 15% range. And we're seeing a lot of properties. It just goes to shows you have these lower price points where, 10, 15% is kind of the going norm right now. If you have the right offering that's staged correctly, marketed correctly, has a good agent, and executed correctly with listing at the right time, doing the right showing style and all that kind of stuff. But it's even now that Denver's, on the map, and we're a big city, and that's starting to hit those higher price points between 1 and 2 million. Where when I first started real estate 6 years ago, $1 million property was a big deal in Denver. 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Now pretty much if it's not above 2 million, it's not really a luxury property anymore.
Well, and we're defining strictly residential property.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 units and below. Yeah, 5-6 years ago, there wouldn't have been anything above $1 million. And now you'd be hard pressed to find anything under $1 million.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and it was one of those things that it came down to, knowing the market, knowing the craft, and being able to explain it to the client confidently that this is still a good decision.
Right. So here you've got a scenario with a 7-figure property where you are $250,000 above asking. You made a really healthy cash deposit offer too.
Yeah. So, one of the things that win in this market is people want certainty. Buyer's remorse is real in this market. And, so many people go under contract and try to renegotiate on inspection or appraisal or threaten to back out. The only way to put certainty is we're seeing a lot of offers with non-refundable deposits upon signing contract. Which this one we did, and it had to be 50 grand.
50 grand. And this property needs some work. I mean, you already said one of these properties is gutted from the beginning of a remodel.
Yeah. So
we've got tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in expense once we acquire the property.
Correct.
And we're still making a wise investment. We've run the numbers. We know how to deal with investment property. We've looked at it, and this is going to blow some minds. Cap rate of
9.
9. That's out of this world right now. So, good on you, Andrew. This took a lot of time. Not only from a research on the investment standpoint, but a lot of time building a rapport with different people to even be in the hunt. And you're going to find out your acceptance deadlines today?
Yeah, I'm told we're number 1 offer right now, but it came close. There were some people neck and neck with us.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to have positive thoughts about that offer getting accepted through the course of the day. You'll have to fill us in on what happened on your next visit to our little podcast here. But yeah, okay. So end of the year, beginning of the year, this is usually a time where we find people are kind of asleep at the wheel. I mean, even I let it creep in from time to time. I have that thought of, a minute of a day where, God, I could just coast out the rest of the year. No problem. You're obviously not doing that. You're working like a dog right now, which is fantastic. And I'd be willing to bet you've got some big plans for 22.
Yeah, definitely.
Give us a little taste. What are you gonna? What kinds of great things should we expect from Andrew next year?
Well, I'm kind of on this verge if I want to rebrand and do this, kind of take this lifestyle thing into more of a real estate brokerage approach, where, we start doing video series on these restaurants instead of just writing about them, build a YouTube channel, get SEO, and, do a new rebrand based on that. That's on the talks right now. That might be a 2023 thing, but laying the groundwork for that in 2022 is definitely on the docket. I would say the biggest things this year is, saving time, leveraging more than I've ever leveraged, delegating more than I've ever delegated, and just doing what I know works and not wasting time. Just especially with, 70% of my business right now is buyers. So, in this market, you just don't have time to waste any, and get in properties, on a moment's notice, write offers at a moment's notice. Having to pull over your car to write an offer sometimes is the real deal right now. So I think just being really careful with time and going more on the listing side of things and building relationships with other agents to get more listings. And, and I'm doing a lot of client appreciation stuff and a lot of Sphere stuff more. I was doing a lot of internet leads this year, a lot of Zillow, a lot of Facebook. And now I'm starting to realize the money's in the relationships. And that's in this market, to get listings right now, since they're scarce, is you're going to get them through relationships and trust. So,
sure. Well, business in general, but absolutely.
Yeah. But I would say even leaning more in terms of a listing focused business in Denver right now, it's going to be more important than anything else. So I've changed up my business a little bit. I'm doing client events now, probably one a quarter, give or take, right now. Just doing a lot more hands-on, like client-focused, past client referral spheres and referral-based business, and just really honing in on that and making that pretty perfect. That's been what's going on in the last few months of this year, and I think carrying that into 2022 is going to be a game changer.
Well, that certainly lights our fire, preaching and practicing what it takes to have a strict repeat and referral business. And for those of you that are agents listening, watching, if you have not already made significant moves to shift your lead gen activity from buyers to sellers, then you're way behind the curve, because people like Andrew are going to shut you out. We would need a 6-month inventory in the Denver metro area alone, and this is happening in every major metropolitan area, is almost 30,000 listings. And we've got what right now, Andrew? Maybe 7,000?
So I checked the tally earlier at the end of last week, and we were at 1,930.
In Denver or in the Denver metro?
County,
in the seven metro county.
Yeah, so that was Broomfield, Boulder, Douglas, Albert,
Arapahoe,
Jefferson, yeah, and Adams. Those were the 7. Wow. So I checked that, and I wrote about that in my newsletter of just how low inventory is. And this is going to be, we lost 33% of our inventory in 1 month from November to December. So, we're going to be starting the new year with the least amount of homes on the market that we've ever seen.
Ever.
Yeah. And 2021 was it was off to the races January 3rd, no holds bar. I even wrote an offer, I think New Year's Day. I remember I got a Zillow call, walked over to a property New Year's Day and wrote the offer that evening. It was no break. So I think that's going to happen again this year. I just think the buyer pool is going to start being pretty limited just due to where the prices are. So I think it's going to be on the agent's job to really qualify clients and really set expectations and really let people know what they're going into so they don't waste time.
Okay, so I'm not real good at math, right? Mortgage broker, by trade. But we've got rough numbers, 2,000 listings, and rough numbers, 20,000 real estate agents in the Denver metro area. Let's see, 1 goes into carry the 4. There's not enough business out there. If you guys want to be doing good work next year, you better start taking a cue from not just Andrew, but pretty much everybody we've had in the real estate game, certainly in our local market on our podcast, because these are the people that are fucking crushing it and have the killer ideas on how to keep doing so. Pay close attention.
No.
Jen, what am I missing?
I think you nailed it there.
Sorry. Yeah. I dropped a couple F-bombs this week. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but there's a new puppy in the house. Oh. Maybe the future core dog. Yeah, well, my wife and son decided they wanted to go look at a puppy on Saturday. For those of you that aren't local, we're in Denver. The puppy was in Colorado Springs. It's about an hour and a quarter drive for them each way. So they spent 3, 4, maybe 5 hours between doing that and playing with this dog in the pet store and so on and so forth. And I said, hey, look, I can go with you and we can meet this dog and we're going to come back with a new puppy. Or you guys can go without me. I'll get a bunch of stuff done around the house and you're going to come back with a new puppy. So either way, rock and roll. And yeah, my wife conveniently decided to work today. She's a substitute teacher. She knows I do my Mondays from home so we can do the podcast. And so here I am stuck with a puppy day
But she's
one
so
by
cute.
myself. Oh, yeah. All right, Jen, take us home. I'm sure we'll see more of the puppy in future episodes.
All right, guys, if you want to find out more about us, text TIPS to 63566. It will literally give you anything you could possibly want to know about us. You can get a copy of Adam's book, Just the Tips. You can book a free hour of coaching with us. You can find all the past episodes of the show. We're about to wrap up season 4. Season 5 is booked solid. 41 episodes, I think it is, for season 5. And we are booking season 6 right now. So we are booking 2023. You can find out more as we start planning Social Media Day Denver for 2022 and Mile High Mastermind 2022. And yeah, all the things and links to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. So text TIPS.
I saw Andrew's eyes get a little big there, but Andrew, your previous episode with us was November of 20. I mean, it's been 13 months.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We're into
crazy.
February of 23. We're already booked into.
Well, let's get
February.
Andrew on the calendar as soon as we can then, because I suspect hearing what he went through in 22 is going to be a lot of fun for everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Happy to be here. Have a great day, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. For the rest of you, thank you for tuning in. We are here at 10:30 Mountain Time on Mondays with new episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage. And you can catch us then. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, live or in syndication. And have a great week.